Welcome to another edition of Driven to Lead. I'm your host, Wayne Brannon. In this program, we explore the real stories from key executives to find the leadership lessons that drove their success, whether in good times or bad. We got a great program for you today, so let's make it happen. Well, we've got a nice program today. We have with us Gary Ramey, who is the CEO of Liberty Ammunition out of Bradenton, Florida, not too far north of where I am. Gary, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning. How are you today?
Yeah, yeah, doing great, thanks. Gary, you have a great deal of strategic brand leadership in your history. You've turned companies around. You've grown other companies in the consumer packaged goods space. You got a lot of experience in outdoor products and apparel. What put you on this journey? How did you get started with this?
That's a great question. And entering the outdoor industry, frankly, was it was a mistake. It started early in my life. I was a competitor in high school and college, and hung up the guns one day and transferred to University of Miami.
Mm,
And after that, uh, went to work for Caterpillar Tractor and found myself in an advertising agency. I loved it. I was in the research department, in the dark nights and the little
yeah.
hat and the little buns on your arms, doing those big long green spreadsheets pre-computer.
Mm,
And one day they said, "Hey, we need someone to work on this new thing called Stouffer's Lean Cuisine. Do you have any interest?" And I jumped at it. So I worked on Stouffer's Lean Cuisine on the launch of that, and then also on Sara Lee Desserts in the Chef Pierre division.
hmm
And next thing I know, Chef Pierre offered me a job, and I went up there. And then the agency for Sara Lee, on the bigger part of the business, offered me
hmm
a position. I went there, and Sara Lee asked me to come back to the brand side. And I did that until 1999, when all good careers come to an end, and found myself in the outdoor industry, and really haven't looked back. Worked for
Yeah.
Tasco, worked for United Industries and some others. Couple of stints at the USA shooting team on the marketing side. My
hmm
wife reminded me I can't be a shooting bum the rest of my life. So
Yeah.
got back into corporate life a little bit, some turnarounds, wind downs, and then had an opportunity to meet with Beretta, which is the
Mm,
world's oldest company. Invoices
mm.
dating back to the 1500s, and worked
Wow.
for, yeah,
Didn't know
wonderful
that.
company.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, worked for the Beretta family for 4 years.
Yeah.
Started my own gun company,
Mm.
which and that had an ammunition component to it. We sold that to a larger firearms company, and now I'm at Liberty Ammunition and just loving it. Just
Yeah.
what a great brand, great people, product differentiation. So
hmm
just really enjoying it.
One of the things I love about this program is that, we talk to senior C-suite executives from just a diverse kind of set of industries, we get a very good breadth of coverage. And, I often learn about businesses I just hadn't thought of before, whether it's a deep insulation product somewhere inside another product, or whether it's an air filtration product or something else. And certainly we haven't had anyone from the ammunition space with us yet. So, tell us a little bit about Liberty and, kind of what's going on with the company, what your product differentiation is right now, what your key brand kind of messaging is, and how that's going. We'd love to hear a little bit about it.
Yeah, you bet. Uh, to start with, most people do not understand ammunition, even within our own industry. Most of the time you think the heavier the bullet, the better, and that's simply not true. And I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. I didn't start this company. I came in after a very interesting event happened. Company's been around since 2005 and was a development house for the government. And 15 patents, were lining the walls of the hallway.
Mm,
Um, Wonderful design capabilities, fantastic equipment, virtually the same that the FBI ballistics lab has in Huntsville, Alabama. But they
mm,
sued the government that was funding them for patent infringement on the 5.56 armor piercing round. And when that happens, when there's a lawsuit like that, a lot of people jump in and they invest in the lawsuit. And the
Hmm.
company won the lawsuit and then lost it on appeal. And
Hmm.
so the company, you know, the funder, the funding went away, the money went out, but some of the people that had invested in the company ended up owning it. Fantastic
Hmm.
folks, but they never intended to own an ammunition company. But at this time, COVID, the George Floyd tragedy, Chaz, all the
Hmm.
civil unrest really
Hmm.
spiked our industry, and it hid some of the sins that the
Hmm.
company had. And after about a year or two, the company thought, well, we better get somebody in here that knows the industry. And they found me. And,
Hmm.
my message to them was, you've got great product, and I'll explain the differentiation in a moment.
Okay.
You've got great product, but you're not a big brand. You're a new brand. And when the
Hmm.
music stops and the category slows, there's probably not a chair for you to sit in. There's a lot of must have brands: Hornady,
Hmm.
Remington, Spear, Federal.
Right.
There's lots of legacy brands, some of them 100 years old. So
Hmm.
uh, one day my phone rang and they said, "You've been vindicated. When can you start?" So I got a kick out of that. So I've been at Liberty now about 3 years, and our product differentiation, and the hard part is it requires education, because most people, again, think the heavier the bullet, the better. That's not true. Stopping power or kinetic energy is velocity squared times half mass or weight of that moving object.
Hmm.
The
Okay.
rest of the industry is full metal jacket or wrapped lead. So they're
Hmm.
very heavy. They're 115 grain, 124,
Hmm.
147. Ours are 50, 55, and 72 grain. But we're traveling at 2,040 feet per second. They're
And that's a lot
traveling,
faster than those other bullets.
they're at 1,100 feet per second.
Okay. So
So when you look
if
at the
it's
map,
velocity squared, the impact of speed is going to have
huge.
much more than half of the weight, right? In terms
Yeah,
of the actual
absolutely.
force that you could deliver.
So some military special forces units and the
Hmm.
FBI are all carrying a 135 grain Hornady bullet. It's nice. I won't criticize them, but I will say we're half the weight
Hmm.
or more, uh, and we hit 50% harder.
Yeah, and so yeah, and I guess for for a law enforcement officer or someone or military personnel who's carrying that weapon every day, all the time, certainly that incremental weight has an impact there too. I mean, they're carrying so much equipment. I mean, that would be an advantage, not a disadvantage to be lighter, right?
Yeah, it would be. And a lot of the special forces guys have explained to us,
Hmm.
this is important because in many cases when we step, we're getting on a helo, we've got to get on a scale. And the load master
Hmm.
might say, "Hey, pal, you've got to shed some weight." Well, I've got
Hmm.
mandatory gear that I've got to carry for this mission. I
Right.
can't shed my water. So, and they don't
Right.
want to shed their magazines, but it's about their only choice. So
Yeah.
with our product, lighter to carry, they can carry more, or at least carry some, and it has
Hmm.
higher stopping power. So, but it's that educational process. A lot
Right.
of special forces and military groups, and certainly law enforcement, they are not early adopters. They just are not. Um, so my,
Right.
my only response to law enforcement now is, well, how do you like your Crown Victoria? You still drive those? Oh no, we've upgraded. And I said, well, your ammo is the Crown Victoria of ammo.
Crown
It's not,
Victoria was a nice vehicle, Gary. Come on.
and it was in its day, but now they're in Dodges, they're in
I hear you.
Chargers, and all sorts of things, and we're starting to make progress, but it's an educational process,
So let me ask you a
and
question about the efficacy short range versus long range. I mean, I could see how, the dynamics would work in a short range application, but if you're doing, ammunition for rifles, snipers, that kind of thing, would the efficacy of a lighter bullet in terms of fade and effect by wind have more of an impact, or so you're more effective short term rather than long term, or are both equally as effective?
yeah, no, great question, and frankly, we're a handgun ammunition company. We do make some
Okay.
rifle rounds, but when you
Okay.
make in rifle rounds, you're almost everyone is about the same weight and about the
Hmm.
same velocity. Um, we don't our velocities don't provide an advantage there. We frankly match up with the other guys, and there's awfully
Okay.
good rifle ammo. Handgun
Hmm.
handgun ammo, uh, they've been around forever, but frankly, they're not that good. We far,
Okay.
far exceed what
Mm.
they can perform at.
So knowing what you know, I mean, even if you weren't with Liberty Ammunition, it's just a shooter yourself, I'm sure with some proficiency. What ammunition would you choose? Would you choose your own ammo now that you know about it and you have all of this knowledge and ability to kind of really assess all the competitive competitors out there?
Yeah, without question. In a handgun, Liberty ammunition far surpasses any other ammunition. In rifle ammo, I might pick up Hornady Black.
Hmm.
Might pick up ours. Spear makes great product. There's a lot of great brands out there, and but 9 millimeter alone is bigger than all rifle rounds annually.
Yeah, is that the number one handgun caliber in the world?
It is. It is.
Okay,
And so
suspected
we
as
we
much.
focus in on 9 millimeter and the more popular handgun rounds, and then
Hmm.
all of the rifle rounds. There's so many different calibers. We leave
Yeah,
that to the other guys, but we focus in on the middle of
yeah.
the bell curve, the big middle.
Well, I'm glad you complimented some of those other companies because I don't want them to have to come on and rebut your claims about you being the best in handgun ammo. So, but guys, if you're out there, you're welcome to come on the program anytime. We'd love to have you. So, but I think that's a great testament to your product. It's so much easier as a leader, isn't it, when you really believe in your product and you know that you've got a competitive advantage. It's easier for that passion and belief to come through. Now, you transfer that through to your team as well as they go out and position this product in the marketplace.
They have more religion than me. They are
Okay.
true. They are true evangelists, and
Okay.
it's amazing when you go. As an example, there was an army unit we went and did a presentation with, and they were shocked. I mean, most of the folks are. Excuse me, I've got a Great Dane bothering me there. Most of the folks they just don't know, and when you show them the facts and the math behind it and the science, they're just amazed. And
Hmm.
our bullets also behave differently. They not only hit harder, but a hollow point when it enters, it just mushrooms in front like
Hmm.
that. And so it just creates a slightly larger temporary wound channel. Our
Hmm.
bullets are designed so when they enter, the soft tissue overpressures the bottom of the cavity. So as it enters, it ruptures at the bottom.
Hmm.
So you could stick a beer bottle in the entry wound. And we're not only
Yeah.
hitting harder, but
Hmm.
because our bullet ruptures at the bottom, it delivers all of the energy into the thread.
Hmm.
Whereas if a bullet goes through, you've lost energy. It's just, you might as well use a rubber band and hit somebody with a Ticonderoga pistol because,
Yeah.
or
Interesting.
Ticonderoga pencil. It's just not,
Yeah.
no high stopping power, no permanent wound channel, and you're at a disadvantage.
Yeah, I know this is a topic for many of you who might be listening that may be a little uncomfortable because, it is scary. It's a scary thing to think about weapons that do their job really well because but it's something that if there is a threat, as you said, Gary, you want the weapon to do its job really well, God forbid, when you have to use it, right? And
Yeah.
so, in every category, every product, every component of a feature and a benefit of a product needs to move toward its most effective and what makes most sense for the intended use. So I really appreciate the fact that you do have that competitive advantage, and so it's got a number of components that I don't think many people would have considered. But for those who are looking to stop a threat, it sounds like there's not really a better product in the market for that, for
No,
those
actually,
all those reasons combined.
there's no one even close. But the
Yeah.
old legacy brands are married to lead. All their facilities and all their equipment are built around lead. And
Hmm.
we machine ours from copper rod. So it's highly accurate, highly effective, performance based. And by the
Hmm.
way, as you were talking about, some people might be uncomfortable. We're members
Hmm.
of NSSF. We're very big on positioning our brand as a self defense brand. Uh,
Hmm.
that's it. It's self defense ammo.
Right. Yeah, of course.
That's what it's for.
that's what it should be for all the time,
Right.
unfortunately. And it's unfortunate in our world that we need it, but we do. But even self-defense in terms of, it looks like you're in the Georgia mountains today. Beautiful view there for us. But if you think about it, I mean, just, carrying a handgun, when I had a house in the North Georgia mountains, I carried a handgun because I was concerned about bears and other things that might, cause trouble. Not that I would want to use my weapon, but if you had to, I was always worried about the stopping power of a handgun or to scare something away or really stop it. God forbid you need it. But it sounds like even a lower caliber weapon or mid caliber, like a 9 millimeter, could stop a bigger target because of the features that you just described in your ammunition.
Yeah, it can. It can.
Yeah.
Because you can also design that bullet for higher penetration. So we have some that
Hmm.
won't rupture at the bottom. They're still
Hmm.
lighter. They're still made of copper.
Hmm.
Lead, when it hits something hard, it smushes.
Hmm.
Ours won't do that because it's hard copper. Uh,
Hmm.
so yeah, we design for specific special uses like bear uh,
Hmm.
self-defense against bears. We've got a line called Bear Country. We've got
Hmm.
a special line for
Yeah.
law enforcement and military that will go through level 3A soft body armor. But we
Hmm.
only sell it to them. We won't sell it to the consumer. And
Right.
then we've got the consumer lines as well in Liberty
Hmm.
Overwatch, Civil Defense, and
Right.
Liberty Ultralight, and a new one we call Spike, which is the hardest hitting 380 out there. Very close, in fact, to some of the big brands 9 millimeter. So you don't
Okay.
have to
Really.
be at a
Okay.
disadvantage if you carry 380 anymore.
Yeah. Okay. When, lighter and smaller is always better too, right? So. All right. Well, let's transition out of the business arena specifically and the products. It could be related. As you know, I think from our previous discussions and perhaps seeing a couple of these Driven to Lead podcasts, we talk about leadership lessons on this program. And so we think the best way to find them is to have executives like yourself tell us a story about a big hurdle you had to jump or a great success that you were able to bring in, maybe a business turnaround, could be with your current business or one in the past. We'd love to hear from you about something that you think might help us to find a few interesting leadership lessons that we can all learn from.
One thing that I truly believe in is people. They really are your key differentiation, and they go up and down the elevator or down the stairs or out the door every day. And my advice to the younger folks would be to build relationships. People still want to do business with people. We just came back from a big distributor show called NESGW. I got back on Saturday and had a very nice compliment from one of the largest distributors in the world. They said, we're at the point where we just want to work with people we like and people we trust. And Gary, we're not going to buy this one product from you because it conflicts with another product that we've had for a long time. But please know,
Hmm.
we're not going to bring in any product that conflicts with yours because we like you guys, we like Liberty, we like your
Hmm.
product, and we want to continue to grow with you. And,
Hmm.
I had a similar experience with Walmart, gosh, back in the late 80s, early 90s. We were presenting a big program to them. We had better
Hmm.
product, we had better pricing, we had it all. And I remember the buyer said, "Yep, you've got better product, better brand, better pricing. But Gary, we've been buying Fruit of the Loom in this category for a
Hmm.
long, long time. And we know what it would do to them if we stopped doing that. So we're not going to do that." And I remember I had to crawl back to Winston-Salem with my tail between my legs. And I said, "We have better product. We've got a better
Yeah.
brand. We've got better
Hmm.
pricing. They're not buying us." And I remember my boss, Bill Caldwell, who was a mentor of mine, he and
Right.
Martha Daly and John Langford. Bill said, "Well, you know what? I respect that. And you benefit from that once you build that relationship. But they know who they can trust, and those relationships will carry through. So I admire that."
Yeah, and there could have been a little bit of self-serving kind of things when you got schooled in Bentonville that time, but it could have been that, they know as well that Fruit of the Loom is a brand name that people know and their customers have been buying for years, that their customers may be less likely to buy another brand until they've got established. So there could be
Right.
maybe a turn down in sales even with a lower price point. But I don't know the Walmart customer profile well enough to have done the analysis on that. But
Well,
going
we
back
were
to
in there
your
with
point,
sweatshirts, and we were in there with related products. So it wouldn't have been
yeah.
my take on it. It was a pure relationship driven decision. And we had grown from 100 million to 2.4 billion in about 3 to 4 years. So
Wow.
I think they thought you know, we'd done pretty good. That might be one step too far.
So, I like the relationship angle that you're bringing forward with those stories because I just about every company I've ever been in and every leader I've ever talked with has said that people are the most important thing in their business, right? But I think some people say it because they know it's right and logically it makes sense, and it also makes them look like the servant leader they're trying to be. But it doesn't always resonate in a way that they believe it and they act it out and they put those principles into your company. But it sounds like you do embrace it wholeheartedly and you treat the people in your organization with mutual human respect and you share responsibility and you guys have a mutual passion for your products. Now, if you think about relationships outside the company, like the experience you shared with Walmart, um, what do you think you need to do as a less known brand, a less big brand, less established brand than your competitors right now to build relationships that will help your company to grow in terms of its brand efficacy?
Great question, and that of course will depend on the specific situation. But try to view it. I'm a fan of Chris Voss and empathetic negotiation. Try and view it from
Hmm.
that buyer's or retailer's perspective. If you don't think it's the right product for them, don't be afraid to say, you know what, we've got these products over here. I don't think you should buy them. They're not right for you. However,
Hmm.
this one over here or these over here would be a great strategic fit
Right.
because we've got a strategic overlap here and we think we can drive your business together. And I recommend not buying products quite a bit. If they
And
buy it and it just sits there, they're going to complain about being over
of
inventory.
course,
Our brand gets soiled as a result, and you can't
yeah.
win. So crawl, walk, run on that.
Yeah, so what you just shared is that, sometimes in a selling relationship, people are experiencing salespeople, or those of us in leadership roles who are acting as a salesperson in that particular instance, who are selling and they act salesy, they're pushing too hard. But to build a relationship, what you just said is one of the fundamental things that you need, and that's truth and transparency. And sometimes your product isn't the best product, as you said, and you need to be truthful about that and
Right?
transparent with that and just see if there is a lane. And honestly, that will, even if you don't make a sale that day, I think that will still, that will still get your foot in the door when you want to come back and talk about something else another day. So that's a great way to build relationships in a brand. Is there another one that comes top of mind in building relationship? If you're in a belly to belly sales situation with a hard-nosed buyer at a major company, for example, what else would you think would be great to do in building the relationship?
Just always be honest with them.
Yeah.
Don't lie. And my advice is there's transactional salespeople that just to your point want to close the sale and move on, and
Yeah.
the buyers can sniff that out. They have seen it all before, and
Yeah.
don't waste their time. But if you can sit down and say, you know, I've looked at your stores. We've done some research. Here's what we found. We think this product is right for you. It's great margin, product differentiation. We think it's an incremental sale for you. Uh,
Hmm.
can we try it in 10 stores? If it doesn't work, we'll bring it back. You know, take the
Yeah.
risk out of it for the buyer and do your homework so the only thing the buyer has to do is say yes. If
Well,
you
you hit
if
on
you
it,
plop something on
Gary.
their table and they've got to go to
Yeah.
work, you
You
know,
hit on it what I was thinking of anyway. I was thinking about, de-risking the situation. As you said, but I was thinking about it as being willing to share the risk or,
yeah,
share the investment in getting started with the product. So I think that's really a good way to do it as well. If you're willing to put some skin in the game on a new relationship with a client. I mean, sometimes that just comes through price discounting, but over the years as a brand marketer myself, you realize price is the lowest form of marketing. There's lots of other value you can bring to the table,
shouldn't even come
but
up in the conversation, to be honest.
yeah,
Shouldn't come up till the
yeah,
end.
yeah, exactly. Oh, by the way, what does this cost? Because I want it, right?
Right.
You're building a relationship there by offering to share the responsibility of the new relationship and put the product on the shelf. So I think that's a great way to build relationship. So with those two lessons, truth, transparency, and obviously honesty, really in the same category as you mentioned, but also then the sharing in the risk or being willing to put some skin in the game yourself. Let's turn the tables back to the other side of it, which you also indicated was tremendously important, is building relationships in your team, right? So not just building relationships with your customers, you got to build relationships with your team. And so I would expect that truth, transparency, honesty, and having some skin in the game yourself or being a partner is also going to work in that arena. Is there anything else that comes top of mind when you're thinking about your team and how you deal with them and how you build relationship there?
Yes, clear lines of responsibility and their authority levels. And when you
Mm-hmm.
make a mistake, own it.
Mm-hmm.
And I own my own mistakes, and I tell them, my gosh, guys, wow, did I screw this up? Sorry. Here's what I should have done differently, and point that out to them. And likewise, it's okay to make mistakes. My job as a leader is not to let them make big mistakes, but I can't micromanage them. So if they do
Mm-hmm.
something, I'll say, well, you know, didn't quite work out the way we'd hoped. What if we had tried this? I had
Yeah.
another great mentor named Joe Neely, who had been the CEO of Sara Lee Apparel and then also Sara Lee Corporation for a bit. And he used
Yeah.
to say, let's be hard on the problem, not on the people. And I thought that was a great saying. Be hard on the
I
problem, not
like
on the
that.
people. And that's,
Sure.
we all want to do our best in management. We all want to see the company succeed. We're all vested in it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to make mistakes. Okay, let's be nimble, but let's move fast. Let's improve on it the next time.
Yeah, and I think by you owning your mistakes, they'll learn to own their own mistakes, and they don't need to be beaten up. They'll actually see that it's a chance for them to be better, and they're not going to get crucified for making a mistake if they're honest and forthright about it. And as long as it wasn't insubordinate and just doing something you told them definitely not to do, right?
Right.
So I like that. So clear lines, but you started with two really good ones: clear lines of responsibility and authority to act. I think that empowerment, as I say, kind of overall, is really key to show respect to the people who work in an organization, to empower them to do their job and trust them to do it. As you said, another thing seems to me to be consistency as well. To treat everyone in the same way and go after the problems that you go after in a consistent way. Is that a component that you think is important as well?
Yeah, yeah, it is. And along with that is over communicate. Um,
Hmm.
I have a standard morning ritual that I do. I get to the office early, unpack, get my computer back on my desk, pick up my coffee cup, and then I walk through the factory and say good morning to everybody
Good for you. That's
by
great.
name. I mean, it's not like hi
Yeah.
everybody and walk by. It's hey, good
Yeah.
morning, Naomi. How are you this morning?
Right.
Um, our company is very unique. Our folks, even the hourly folks, will show up a half hour early
Hmm.
just to get their desks or their tasks ready, and they start
Hmm.
working early because they don't expect to get paid for it, which I love.
Right.
The
Yeah.
money side of it goes, that's great, but in truth, they're passionate about their jobs. They love it. Um, I may disagree on what one person thinks is a blemish versus what I think is a blemish, but they're
Right.
harder on the product than I would be, and I
Really.
love that.
You're
I'm
talking about like in a quality control situation where someone's inspecting.
Yeah, when they're inspecting, they'll be harder on the product than I would be. Um, and I'm never going to correct
Yeah.
them because they
Yeah.
catch any imperfection you can imagine. I mean, right
Yeah.
down to if the plating has a little bit of a different sheen to it,
Yeah.
they put it into blemish. And and as a practical guy, I'm like, that looks fine to me. They're like, oh no,
Yeah,
not
that
good
one's going
enough.
to work just fine, and the customer's probably not even going to notice it, right? But
They'd never know. They would never
yeah.
know.
Well, that's a good thing because they really care about the reputation of the brand and the product and the
They
company.
do.
And if you think about like maybe a third leg to that stool, so the truth and transparency, giving the authority to act, consistency over time, over communicating, so there's no confusion about what's necessary. If you think about like another leg to that stool, it's got to be that you compensate them fairly as well. I mean, no one, I always say it this way, if someone stopped giving people a paycheck, as much as they're passionate about the company and they love to work there, they probably wouldn't show up next week. So we do have to compensate them fairly. How do you manage that in an organization where you have different levels of people with different types of jobs working on different things that has frankly has a different value to the company, right?
Well, what we've done is we've cross-trained everybody so everybody can do every job.
Okay,
And we've given everybody a raise every year.
good for
And
you.
every year, everyone but me has gotten a
Hmm.
raise.
Okay,
I don't think I deserve it until the company's doing better. So
okay, good for you.
when there's more money to be spread around, I give it to the employees.
Well, that level of integrity goes a long way in creating loyalty and passion for the company and the brand as well. So
It does.
congratulations.
I've
Congratulations
had them
on it.
break, it was a very nice thing. I've actually had employees break down and cry when I've given them
Mm,
raises
yeah.
because they hadn't gotten
Isn't that
them
a
before.
wonderful thing? That's
It
that's a
really is. It's
wonderful
very
thing.
touching.
I mean, I say it all the time. I mean, I think, a big part of the purpose of life is to touch other people in a positive way. And those of us who have the chance to be leaders have a tremendous responsibility to deliver that because they're counting on us to, have a business that works, to be competitive in the marketplace, to create some longevity and some prosperity for all of us, et cetera. But then when that flows through and you're able to really see that executed and it really means something in people's lives, I don't think there's a better high than doing something for someone else that has that kind of meaning. So that's really great.
I agree. And I view my position, frankly, as part of my job is improving. I'm not just a caretaker for the private equity group's money. Yes, that's
Hmm.
part of it, but I'm a
Sure.
caretaker of these people's career and their livelihoods.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Right.
I view it that way. When you're
Yeah.
tired and it's late and you think, I've done enough, nope, I've got more to do. You've got to just keep going because these folks, the hourly folks, they've entrusted their ability to buy food, pay a mortgage in you,
Yeah.
the leader of the company. And
Yeah.
it's a responsibility people should take seriously.
It really is. And I think it's important because sometimes, leaders have to sacrifice time away from their family and, really balance a very difficult equation of their personal and their professional lives. And, I remember times when, my daughter, my son were upset or, that I was leaving again on a trip. I mean, I've worked across 85 countries over, many, many years, and too many times I was away from the family. And I remember one time my daughter was literally hanging onto my leg as I was going out the door in an
It's
afternoon to go
hard,
on.
isn't it?
Because, oh, I mean, I'm in
Yeah,
tears. And I just told her the truth one time. I just said, honey, you know what? Right now, I am making a decision to go on this trip because I've made the commitment to the people who work in the organization. There are thousands of people who are depending on me, and they have children just like you, and they need nicer clothes to wear to school next season, and they need things that our business provides for them. It puts food on the table. It helps them to take care of themselves. I mean, she's 7 years old, 8 years old, I don't know, but at the time, but somehow it seemed to soften her sadness that
right.
I was being truthful, that I was making the decision to do it. And as long as I was going to do it, I had to take care of those people too. It wasn't just her.
Yeah, dad's helping some others. Yep.
Yeah. And now, I mean, she shows up for work 15 minutes early. She is so passionate about what she does. She's very customer oriented. And my son as well. I mean, they're hard workers and they're in their late, we adopted later in life, they're in their late 20s. I mean, my goodness, I look at, the cohort of, others in their, kind of generation. And I don't see that kind of commitment and work ethic. Not that I'm trying to pat myself on the back. I wasn't the greatest parent, I'm sure, because I was gone a lot. You have to give my wife more credit. But the reality is that people notice and they understand when you make a commitment to do the right thing and you're trying to care for everybody. And then when that comes through, is the experience you shared where someone is literally crying because they're happy, or in my situation where my daughter cries a little bit less because she understands.
Right.
It's nice that we do the right thing.
Yep.
Good for
Absolutely.
you. Well, I think this has been very, very insightful. Let's just real quickly turn to maybe a harder kind of target audience. What if we turn this same kind of relationship building that we looked at for the customer and for the employees? Now we just turn to your supplier organization because you're always got to play hardball with them and get their costs down, right? So how do you build a relationship with those people?
Well, there are vendors that we have a strategic relationship with, and then there's others that are transactional. And the
Hmm.
transactional ones are typically folks that are selling a widget, some type of component we need. But then there's others that we partner with on design. They might
Hmm.
have a capability that extends beyond ours. And so
Hmm.
we partner with them to do the right things. And I apologize for that. Thought I had that off. Uh,
No worries.
we work with them and we supply them with long-term contracts and we invite
Hmm.
them in. We visit with them. We help them with their other projects, where we might have a capability
Right.
that they don't have. So I think one of the things I found is let people do what they're good at doing.
Hmm.
As an example, some people would think you're servicing a chain retailer, ship them directly. Well, we're good at designing and making.
Hmm.
We're not maybe as good as a big distributor in distributing. They do it all day,
Hmm.
every day. Um,
Right.
you're shipping out to a retailer that has 200 stores. For us to have one person doing label by label by label would be tortuous. So we work
Right.
with the distributors, that just turn it
Yeah.
around in 30 minutes, whereas it would take us 5 days. So I'm a firm believer in letting people and companies do what they're good at. And
And
it saves
valuing
us
that.
time and money.
Yeah, absolutely. And valuing that so that you express appreciation for the things they're good at. And so you build a partnership and a collaboration that builds relationships. So I think that's a great way to describe it, Gary. So yeah, that's been a good discussion. Let's turn to the kind of wrap up of our conversation today. I always ask a couple of questions at the end of these discussions. If you were a younger man, not that you're an old man now, but if you were in your 20s, early 30s, and you had to look back and not knowing what you know now, what advice would you give yourself?
Uh, be more patient. I was always anxious to move on to the next level and
Hmm.
you know, scream up through the organization. And my boss, Martha Dowley at the time, used to say, Gary, bloom where you're planted.
Yeah.
And, I thought that was great advice. There's always more to learn, more to accomplish at an existing level. So I
Hmm.
think I would use that as my advice for a younger me or anyone
Yeah.
younger. Uh,
Thinking back when we were younger, though, and we heard that advice, while we understood the wisdom in it, perhaps it was still difficult to take because we wanted to run fast, right?
we did want to get all
Yeah.
those old people out of our way. What do they know?
Yeah. What do they know? I guess, just thinking about what you just said, I think giving more reverence to the experience that some of our leaders had back in that day would have probably served us well as well.
It would have.
Not that
And
not that we
I'd love
were,
to go back for a couple of weeks and see some
yeah,
of my
it's
other bosses who were mentors and have a chance
yeah,
to talk with them more. Because now I could also do it at a different level.
of course. That's what I'm thinking as well. It's not that I was irreverent or, disrespectful, but I certainly didn't seek out their advice and their knowledge to the extent that I could have and would have, benefited from it. Well, what you know when you're older, isn't that great? Well, what about when we're even older? Let's fast forward 20 years. And imagine we could still sit on that beautiful deck that you're on there overlooking the lake and the mountains, and we're talking about what we're most proud of in our life over a coffee. What are you going to tell me you're most proud of, Gary?
I think I'm most proud of the fact that I've worked in several different industries and had success across many of them. And many of the people that worked for me also rose to levels,
Mm-hmm.
as presidents and CEOs of very
Mm-hmm.
large companies. Uh, and I'd like to think that maybe they picked up something from me along the way. I've worked hard to not be a looper, and people
Mm-hmm.
will ask me, well, "What's that?" And I said, "Well," and this is not a criticism of Hanes underwear, but there are people that spend a career at Hanes Underwear. And I think of it in terms of the nursing home porch. I'd like to be able to
Mhm.
say more than, wow, wasn't that a great pallet at back to school at Walmart of underwear?
Right.
You know,
Well, it was though,
it was
but
a great palette, but they do the same thing year after year after year.
right.
And
Right.
my experiences with Beretta and bank meetings and right down to bear hunting in Russia.
Yeah.
I've had an opportunity. I've been so blessed. I've just had an opportunity to experience different things, different cultures,
Mhm.
um, different product categories. And at the end of the day, it comes down to your people, your product, where it fits in the market, and your marketing. And I've enjoyed it. I've been blessed, and
Yeah,
I've
I
always been
think,
surrounded by good people. By the way, it's
yeah.
not me; it's the team. I've always been.
Well, I got to give you a little more credit than that. I appreciate your humility, but honestly, when you treat people with truth and integrity and you empower them as you said you do, and when you own your own mistakes and you work collaboratively with people, and you have your own passion, that breeds the best in everybody else as well, right? And I think we all can learn from that lesson. It collectively, when we behave in a way that a leader needs to behave, it actually creates the kind of environments that everyone can succeed in. So good on you for that, Gary.
Well,
If
thank you.
Yeah, so if someone wanted to get in touch with you or with Liberty, how would they do that?
Well, drop me an email. My email address is Gary Ramey at libertyammo.com. So GaryRamey at libertyammo.com. Uh, it would be an honor to get an email. It would be great. Would love it.
And I think after getting to know you, the people who watch this program, listen to it, know that you're being sincere about that. So God bless
Absolutely.
you. Listen, thank you so much for being on the program. I think there's just so much content in this short discussion we've had today, but I've enjoyed it as well. And I think it's going to be a program that'll live on for quite a while with these lessons. So thanks for everything, Gary.
Well,
Really
I
appreciate it.
appreciate you having me on. Thank you very much.
Thanks. All the best. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for being with us. If you like our conversations, please feel free to hit the subscribe and like buttons. And if you'd like to make comments, ask questions, or even explore being a guest on this program, you can reach out to us via email. It's Wayne@greatroad.com. That's WAYNE at GR numeral 8 ROAD.com. And until next time, always remember the high road leads to a better place.